choices that you see people making with their lives that you would never make. Story 1. Settling for partner I'm not all that in love with. Just out of fear I can't do any better. Sunk cost fallacy, rush to have kids, pressure from family and friends, etc. Like 90 of the people I know have done that. Story 2. Staying with a partner you hated. I know so many people who married people they just kind of kept dating but couldn't stand. I don't know why you'd legally attach yourself to a person you genuinely disliked out of convenience or routine. Story 3. Being half drunk and maybe a couple Xanax in and accidentally add the editor-in-chief of a newspaper to my super-secret high-level government chat of me and my buddies planing bombings halfway across the world. I honestly can assure all of America I would not do that. Like I've done some dumb but I can assure society I'm not even that much of an idiot. Story 4. Littering. Throwing paper towels on the ground in the bathroom. Not putting the cart away at the grocery store. Parking in a way that prevents other people from parking because you didn't pay attention to the spots. People might think those are all trivial or borderline unnecessary things to pay attention to, but I think they're quite important and that a society that ceases to care about the little things will create much bigger problems in the long run. Story 5. Agree to have kids with their partner despite not wanting them themselves. All kids deserve parents, not all parents deserve kids, and this is a prime example. It just makes everyone miserable. Story 6. I dunno, every single choice I said I'd never make I ended up making despite my best intentions and got punched in the face by karma. So my answer is I will never choose to actively judge people for situations I think I'm too smart to get myself into because life has a way of humbling you. Story 7. Being a legit crash out. Like someone who genuinely cannot control themselves and their emotions and lets it up their lives in many ways. I know several people going through this right now and it's painful to watch, but there's nothing you can say or do to help people who don't want to help themselves realize that it's a terrible way to go through life. Story 8. None. The moment you start judging is the moment that same storm starts brewing for you. I'd like to think I wouldn't make certain choices, but really I have no idea what I would do if I was in certain situations, cause some situations are impossible. Story 9. Marrying someone you clearly aren't a match with. BC. You're afraid of starting over or being alone. I used to think that the worst thing in life was to end up all alone. It's not. The worst thing in life is ending up with people who make you feel all alone. Robin Williams. Story 10. Getting married because you think you have to. Maybe you're pregnant, maybe the aunties are starting to talk, maybe you're 35 and it's just time. Just don't do it. Marriage is hard, worth it. But hard, unless you truly can't imagine living your life with that person. Don't do it. I'm in my 50s, been happy 98 of the time. But I'm looking at friends who've been married this long, don't really like each other, never really did, just graduated college, married that guy, bought a house in the suburbs, had 3 kids, a dog and an affair and they are miserable. I'm lucky, I still adore my husband and he feels the same. But the kids are grown, the dog has passed on and there's 2 strangers stuck in a life they hate. Story 11. I'm glad there's plenty of us who find it weird to repeatedly have children with uncommitted partners. I actually don't think it's all that weird to settle though. I wouldn't lol, but the concept is completely understandable and logical to me from different perspectives. Story 12. They are constantly obsessing over everyone else. They worry too much about what everyone else has and does, never really concerned with what they are doing, therefore they never actually do anything. Story 13. Rushing. Gotta graduate, gotta get a job, gotta get married, gotta have kids. Not at all in that order, but it's always rushed. Everyone's worried about what someone else thinks and they want to be accepted into a group. Imperfectly okay watching from the outside. Story 14. Quitting a job without another lined up. Not in this economy. My niece just bought a house a few months ago and also just rage quit her job a few weeks ago. Story 15. Spending 1,000 on a meal. My sister, very successful lawyer, enjoyed this kind of fancy restaurant. When she passed the bar, my father took her to eat in the Eiffel Tower. It was hella expensive, and when I'm dragged in this kind of place, I hate it. Why is there 4 knives and 5 forks? What are these elvish plates with eldritch sauce? Why is my steak smaller than a Happy Meal? No wine for me, I don't drink, I'll just have a soda. How much? Water for me. And since I don't like all these weird plate from outer space, I have to watch that poor waiter jumping through circle of fire to try to propose something I'd like. Poor guy, I spent 2 hours bored and went to a fast food last time. For my 30th birthday, I took my family to a steakhouse. The very concept of overpaying food to this point is alien to me. I get that it's supposed to be good, but I'm still hungry. At this price I could fly to another country. There has to be a better way to spend this amount of money. Story 16. People prioritizing career over family and community because of this unrealistic, but what if I make it big mindset dream that as a working class person, which most of us are, is basically unachievable. Story 17. Hookup culture, period. I'm not the person who believes in purity culture or after marriage, but I also cannot stand the thought of sleeping with random people I met a few hours or days ago, not to mention that it puts me at a higher risk of STDs and unwanted pregnancies. Story 18. I'd never say never because I never know, but when I see people stuck in dead-end situations, jobs, marriages, relationships, bad friendships, housing, etc., it just breaks my heart and I want to mourn their loss of a good life for them. Story 19. Lip filler plastic surgery. I hear and see so many horror stories, it's simply not worth it. I include LASIK in this. my vision is absolute, and I used to wonder if it was worth it, but now all this shit's coming out about people who ended up with chronic pain like sand or needles in their eyes from it, blurry vision. Yeah, not worth it. You'll just keep paying for contacts and glasses. I will never ever get surgery unless it's medically necessary. Story 20. Letting their cats be outdoor cats or even indoor-outdoor is something I would never allow my cats to be. Cats hunt for fun and harm wild populations, but also, humans aren't very kind to cats, and I've seen way too many intentionally hurt. My cats will forever be indoors where they are safe. Story 21. Having children, especially those who seem to do so indiscriminately and with little regard for how being a parent will impact their relationship, finances, and quality of life, couldn't be me. Story 22. Getting married too fast, having kids too young. We don't live in an ideal economy right now or a safe political climate and should no longer be making these decisions whimsically or with romantic notions. Story 23. Any choice where the statistics indicate a trauma is likely to occur. 1. Marrying someone with gambling, alcohol, anger, or cheating issues. 2. Having kids with someone who doesn't enjoy the company of children. 3. Dating a man raised in a culture that hits and abuses women. 4. Staying in a country that I want age well or my rights are constantly debated. 5. Visiting a country where the locals are raped or harmed often. 6. Any lifestyle choice that often leads to financial or bodily ruin like abusing drugs, risky behavior, or having questionable people in my life. 7. Anything else that the odds means I will lose. Story 24. Letting their grown adult children live in their home rent-free and not have any job is wild to me. I mean, if the person is disabled, of course, your job as a parent is to take care of them or make sure they have access to care. But you letting your able-bodied adult child stay at your house rent-free with no job make that fool get a job and pay rent. Story 25. Dating someone that I didn't actually like just for. I've seen many of my friends that dated women that they couldn't stand just so they could have regular. Story 26. Smoking. I don't understand why anyone my age, early 30s or younger, even starts given what we know about it. I hear a lot of people say it's stress relief. But to me, worrying about all of the potential health side effects would just make me more worried. That would be the opposite of helpful for my stress. I have a lot of sympathy for people who are struggling with addiction, but that doesn't mean I understand what made the appeal outweigh the dangers. Story 27. Getting laid off. Taking out a $10K loan to get through the jobless period, getting a job several months later, and before even starting work going out and leasing a brand new car with a $700 a month payment plan. Watched a friend of mine do this 5 years ago and they are still paying off that loan and the car, having largely been living paycheck to paycheck since because of it. I just couldn't believe it. I worked way too hard to get out of living paycheck to paycheck to be willing to spend that kind of money without solid income. Story 28. My brother was homeless and then got very lucky when someone hit my car while he was driving. He sued and got $50K, refuses to file taxes on it, not putting any of it away to grow, bought a motorcycle, guitar, spending money to go into the city all the time and staying at fancy hotels. He's gonna blow through that money so fast and have the IRS on his. Story 29. Vaping weed. Not inherently bad, but all the time I have friends who cannot be without their vapes. Every time I look up vaping. It used to be like people would ask if I minded honestly the hugest deal to me, but now it's in my car, in my home, in the elevator, at work, turning away real quick to do it at church, or catching me off guard when I face them at the same time they exhale, blow it all in my face. Everyone has preferences with who they want to date. Personally, I don't want to date anyone with such an extreme habit. I don't like how the smell lingers, etc. But I don't know many people who don't do it now. It's just something I've noticed so much as of late. Story 30. Driving slowly in the fast lane, wearing the same socks for more than a day, watching media on your phone while in public with the volume cranked up, filling their dog's water bowl, while at the beach, with seawater, eating guy. Story 31. Getting a job and not even trying to do well, watching the people around you struggle more trying have to pick up their slack. How do you do that? Worthless. Story 32. Not sticking with something because they don't get immediate satisfaction. I've known so many people who want a position in a high-paying career, but don't want to take the time and effort honing their skills and learning to get there. Story 33. Some who is completely financially dependent on their spouse, or any relationship dynamic where I'm completely financially dependent. Being a som isn't wrong and I get the logic and financial soundness for it for folks. But for me personally, I value my independence too much and am just too well aware of how things can be fine for years in a relationship then go sour. I just don't want to chance it by being totally at someone's mercy financially and then be screwed should it go left. Story 34. Having kids with a dude or woman that already has kids that he does not actively parent. Minimum 50%. You played yourself. So many women will have kids with a man that doesn't take care of the ones he already has and then are crying when he doesn't care about the kids he has with him either. What did you think this was? Story 35. Going into debt to go to school to get a job to pay off your debt, only for you to not be able to get that job and end up working the same minimum wage job as me. Story 36. Tattoos, influencer culture, forgetting how to read and write, feeling bad for people who put themselves in the position they are in through bad choices and countless chances to avoid the damned outcome. People who embrace being a victim, avoiding the strains of life to seek endless comfort, peer pressure, misery-loving company, people acting like bots, playing League of Legends when Dota exists, avoiding exercise, refusing to admit themselves, and people who just want to watch the World burn because they made a critical mistake at a young age and now just want to be someone else's problem because they feel like they are stuck here with no lessons to give. Story 37 Sacrificing work-life balance for the grind. I can appreciate why people do it, and I wish them all success, but I'd rather enjoy a bit of life now while I can appreciate it rather than work my off for the chance at something better later. My dad didn't live all that long, and his last 5 or 6 years were brutal. He'll likely end up in the same situation, so we'll take that vacation or that day off or buy that thing that makes me happy, because I might not be healthy enough to do it tomorrow. Story 38 Getting drunk every week or getting drunk at all. I have been sober for a while and have been living healthily and could never imagine myself being in a situation where I'm drunk as anymore. It's disgusting. Story 39 People who make the conscious decision to just give up. Those people you see going about their daily life and you wonder if they are actually even real. Some people over time just give up and become a background actor to their own life. Story 40 Giving my son an iPad and ignoring him. I've seen the effects that this is firsthand with my siblings. My fiancé and I can both agree, would never make our son an iPad kid. Story 41 Dating. Because I literally don't feel the emotions that are usually considered a requirement for most people to date, the cons to me just vastly outweigh the pros. Your chances of being murdered or raped skyrocket, you hardly get any time to yourself, you have to deal with their baggage on top of your own baggage. Moving in with someone brings up a whole host of problems. Their finances directly impact yours. You waste a fuckton of time and money going on dates and buying gifts. Don't even get me started on the cost of weddings and rings. Not to mention all of the bullshit you have to deal with if the marriage falls through. It sounds miserable and exhausting. Honestly, I don't know how so many people do it. Story 42 Just not thinking about retirement years, having no financial plan or never working when able to, and so the plan being dependent upon a spouse choosing to never leave. I'd be too consumed with worry if I just expected things to somehow work out. Story 43 I see some like-minded folks in replies, but I'll throw in my list anyway, having kids despite not wanting them, being a hypocrite just so you're on good standing with other people, especially awful people. Settling for the first person to cross your path just so you're not lonely and you absolutely will be. And worse, trapped with someone you never wanted. Going to church or any other religious place just because everyone else does. Because you're afraid of being alone and assumed to be evil for not believing in God. Story 44 Having kids to save a relationship. Don't have kids for this reason, it's just horrible. If you decide to have kids, do it because you'll love them and accept them and care for them. Story 45 Living beyond your means, i.e. pumping credit cards and not paying off to zero at the end of the month. People paying 19 interest is not wise money management. Story 46 Being very foolish with money, and making the same financial mistakes over and over. Then they cry because they are broke. It's frustrating to watch and listen to. Story 47 Answers on these type of posts be like, yeah, I would never stab myself with a million knives and pour gasoline on my children. Probably not the right path for me tbh. Story 48 New partners in the house around the children after a few weeks, especially when the children are grieving the loss of a two-parent household. And bang, here is your new step-parent after leaving your dad 7 weeks ago. Story 49 Having an absurd amount of children in this economy. 2 to 3 cut off, but I'd be like, look at all them kids. Then my second thought is what they do for work.